G'day YouTube, Max Wright here, and we've got a bunch of fun things for you today. We're going to be doing some TA. We are going to look at this thing, the Wyckoff method, the Wyckoff events, and how that's kind of playing out in the charts right now. We're going to look at the Fear and Greed Index, going to look at some interesting clips for the Bitcoin world and what famous Paul Tudor Jones has said about Bitcoin recently. So all good stuff. Let's get into it. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get away. So I wanted to start off with this Wyckoff method. So as I've shared with you over and over and over again, Bitcoin loves to repeat patterns. It just loves it. So back here, it was repeating bull flags constantly. We go back before that, there was 3 symmetrical triangles in a row, and it really does love to repeat its patterns. Well, in this region right here, it did something called the Wyckoff method. So this Wyckoff method right here, this Wyckoff event signified the top. We came up, we did this chopping around, with these 2 points, established a trading range that lasted for 2 months, chopped around, did some tests, went through the phases, read all this stuff. There's also things like volume confirmations and stuff. It's really quite interesting. And it played out really, really perfectly. Eventually, it broke down, and we went on this epic crash down from $60 down to $30,000, okay? Now, there is the inverse of this, and I've been watching this very, very closely because I know Bitcoin loves to play patterns. So, first of all, let's acknowledge it's fun to go back and read all about it and see just how accurately this Wyckoff event occurred right here to signify the top and the reversal. Well, it seems now that we're in a very similar Wyckoff event down here. Now, this one kind of took 2 months to play out. Right now, this one's at about a month, and it's kind of, you can kind of debate a little bit about where we are and when we're going to break out. The confirmation occurs when we kind of break out of this section. So as I've been saying for quite a while, really looking forward to this breaking out of this $42,000, $43,000 zone. That's going to be confirmation. But we look around here and we see the trend is established early with these early points, and that creates the bounds. It tests the top, it tests the bottom a few times, and then eventually, and if you read down here in these phases, it kind of talks about when volume should be high, when volume should be low. If I go ahead and put the volume bars on, it really does match this period in here, phase B. The volume goes a little bit lower. We coil back down into a spring with high volume. It's really quite impressive, this article here about what's happening, when it happens, and all the different ways to verify it. So it's a fun read. I will put a link to this article in the show notes if you want to check it out. But so what does all this mean? Well, we'll save that for the end, actually. Let's, I want to jump into, before we leave the charts, I do want to point out one other thing. I just want to go back to Bitcoin dominance. As I've shared with you before, I have to go to the daily for this. And let me kill the volume bars. As I mentioned before, this trend reversal in Bitcoin dominance, yes, we were coming down in this blue channel. We came down, and this, as we came down, we established this line of support, broke it through, created a line of resistance, and eventually broke through and off to the races to when Bitcoin dominance surged up to 72%. Now, I'm kind of seeing the exact same trend reversal pattern down here with Bitcoin reversal. And I think this is a prerequisite to before we get into the big Bitcoin move. So as we came down, we were coming down, it was almost in free fall here. We paused and checked out at this 50 when these two lines intersected, but otherwise it was a free fall moment in the Bitcoin dominance during our altcoin season. We hung out for about a week here at the 45, creating that level. We came down to what was the low so far, 40, came back up, tested it, came back down, and we're now battling with this 46 zone again. Look, I think it's an absolute prerequisite that we get above and close above this, let's call it 46.5, 47. That for me is going to be a strong signal that altcoin season is dead. It is now time for Bitcoin to steal the show for some amount of period, weeks, months, or whatever. And that's going to be the catalyst to really push us forward. We've got a little bit of things, a few things going on here. A lot of people thinking we're going to have to wait till the end of summer. That kind of coincides with that Wyckoff. It took 2 months the first time when we were at the top. We had around $60,000 for that Wyckoff event to take place before it pushed us lower. We're only about a month into that now. We might need to wait for this Bitcoin to battle across. Is it going to happen now, or do we come back down before we test up? I don't know. But that is going to be one of the key things for confirmation for me. I want to see Bitcoin leave the alts behind. I don't think we are going to get much movement in the Bitcoin price until that happens. They'll probably coincide, but whether or not it's a short-term thing or a long-term thing, we'll be able to see from the confirmation from here. If we'll get double confirmation on the Bitcoin chart when it pushes above 42, 43, that's going to be significant too. And that 42, 43 zone right over here is significant also in the fib. So let's check that out. We get in here, and you can see right around here at 43,200, that's a critically important moment for this fib. So we're going to battle that. Like I said, there's a lot of resistance around here, a lot of it coming from over here. If we put the sidebars on, you can see it's all this right. Once we get above that 43, there is very little resistance that we break through the fib resistance, we break through the vol resistance, and we really do have a pretty clear shot back up to the 50s before it starts getting, before we start seeing a little bit of resistance show up again. And this kind of changes here a little bit when we zoom this in. And again, it just represents that we miss out on this resistance right through here, which is why we fell so quickly through here. Yeah, I think it's worth showing. Let's take a look at the 21-week moving average. Actually, I don't want this chart to get too busy, so let's take a look. 21-week moving average. 21-week moving average leveled off way up here at 47,000. Really, really interesting. So let's see how we interact with that. I think coming through that we'll probably pause there for a little bit. 48,000. Let's see, even the volume bars back it up. So from that range of like 43 to 48, once we break through, there's going to be a very quick move there up to 48.50, I think. But ultimately, I think we go this year, we continue to crash through this and work our way up towards all-time highs. So let's take a look. Actually, we'll take a look at the Fear and Greed Index, and we see it's actually looking the strongest it's been for quite a while. It's up to 33. So we've broken that trend right there. It was kind of maxing out in the high 20s. It was in this range from down to 10 to 20, and we have broken above that. What does that signify? The fear is starting to leave the market. Bulls are starting to step back in, and so it kind of demonstrate that we had that accumulation phase. This is where the strong hands stepped in, the weak hands got scared, got shaken out, and for those of us who are resilient, we stayed in it, like I suggested you should, and we're looking good. Now, it doesn't mean we can't go down, doesn't mean this is going to happen overnight, but this phase down here is, I think we're going to come back with the benefit of history and say this was the accumulation phase, a very, very good accumulation phase before a rather epic run up. So before we close out, I want to check out a couple things. I thought this was just a great little reminder of the long-term situation thing here in Bitcoin. So 2010, no one uses it. 2012, only computer nerds use it. 2013, the famous Silk Road days, only drug dealers use it. 2014, money launderers use it. 2017, there are gamblers. 2019, a small percentage of the population starts using it to protect their wealth against the excesses of central banks. 2020, small companies start getting in. You get your micro strategies, etc. And now we have small countries coming in with El Salvador, 221. That is just an unbelievable and impressive progression in an incredibly short amount of time. And it's just really important to understand that. What do you think we're going to have written here for 2022? What's going to be the next group of people that come in, or the institutions or entities that come on in? And finally, I just wanted to close out with this comment from Paul Tudor Jones. Paul Tudor Jones, worth I think approximately $7 billion, runs one of the biggest funds out there. And here's a question that he always gets asked, and his answer, let's hear it.
Always ask me, what should I do with my portfolio? My employees say, I say, okay, listen, the only thing that I know for certain is I want to have 5% in gold, 5% in Bitcoin, 5% in cash, 5% in commodities at this point in time. I don't know what I want to do with the other 80%. I want to wait and see what the Fed's going to do, because what they do will have a big impact.
Let me ask you about certainty when it relates to Bitcoin. I mean, look at what
So, I mean, there you go. One of the richest, most successful fund managers out there. And the only thing he knows for sure is one of the things that he wants the most of is Bitcoin. 5% Bitcoin, 5% cash, 5% gold, 5% equities. 80%, he's like, I got to wait and see what the Fed does. And this is the problem with everybody. How do you invest in these times? So what I think is the far more likely scenario is that the Fed just keeps on printing to oblivion. Just print and print and print and print. There might be another crisis and there might be another shock. And when that happens, they'll just double down and print even more. And at that point, you're really going to see Bitcoin make some tremendous, tremendous moves. So that's what we've got to look forward to, arguably, in quotes. I think it's a pretty disastrous situation, but history teaches us that's what they're going to do. That is what they're just going to keep printing and keep printing and keep printing. And as this money enters the system, some of it finds its way to Bitcoin. And arguably, the smartest of all the money finds its way to Bitcoin, and a greater and greater portion finds its way to Bitcoin. Because you have to remember, so many people are locked out of so many other investments. You have to have you have to be an accredited investor in US, which is a relatively small percentage of the population, but you have to be an accredited investor before you're allowed to participate in so many different investment opportunities. Bitcoin is for the masses. You can get in with $100, $10. You can be someone in El Salvador with literally $50 to their name, and they can get involved in Bitcoin. And that's why it's for the masses, but it's also for the big institutions as well. It's just going to be a very, very exciting rest of the year. We need to work a little bit hard. Bitcoin needs to work hard to come out of this, finish off this reset, and come back out. It'll come out strong, very, very strong, maybe soon, maybe after summer. But when it comes back strong, it is just going to be a beast. And so I highly recommend, my advice, although I'm not your financial advisor, you got to check that out and make your decisions yourself. But my advice to everyone I'm speaking to you to right now is accumulate Bitcoin. This will be a great accumulation phase, in my opinion. So I hope that's helpful, guys. Let me know in the comments below, is this the accumulation phase? Are you accumulating, or are you sitting back thinking we're going to hit lower lows, get a better buy opportunity? Okay, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.